Malta and Gozo, and welcome to another edition of Lovin Daily. I'm your host, Jonathan Chilia, joined by my co-host, JP, and here are your headlines for today. TVM presenter accidentally live streams himself advising PN supporters. Damning recording in Yorgen Fenech case, lost on court hard drive. Maltese lecturer left distraught after trying to navigate pavement with her wheelchair user daughter. Counterfeit €50 note raises Maltese business owners' concerns, and hoteliers think Malta will achieve tourism normality in 2023. JP, how are you doing today?
I'm good, John. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm just quite interested in these stories. We've got quite a mix of stories today. Do you want to take away the first one?
Absolutely. Let's get straight into it. TVM presenter Brian Hansford has found himself in a bit of hot water after a video went up yesterday of a live stream he did during Delia's second vote of confidence, which he ended up losing. But basically, what happened was Brian Hansford was there as a journalist would be during these times, and he was obviously doing his job, and by mistake he ended up going live on Facebook, and during the short 40-second period he went live, he was heard speaking to Delia supporters outside PN headquarters, where he was telling them, basically rallying them to gather some more supporters, and telling them how he can go about doing that, and influencing them basically until 40 seconds in it abruptly cut until when someone realized that he actually was live on Facebook. He has since been criticized, obviously, for what people claim is unprofessional bias. Being journalists ourselves, we obviously have a particularly keen interest in this story. What do you think of what happened?
I'm going to be honest, I thought the story was, it's very humiliating and embarrassing for Brian Hansford himself, but it's also a little bit funny. I mean, let's be clear, it's everyone's worst fear of accidentally live streaming themselves, pasting themselves all over Facebook, especially when you're talking in these hushed conspiratorial tones like Brian Hansford did. So, I mean, it was a massive boomer moment, live streaming himself. And not only that, it's a little bit politically problematic, or it could be potentially, because obviously he is a TVM presenter, host. He hosts the show Realtà, where he's meant to be neutral, and he was caught giving advice or strategizing with PN supporters, specifically Delia supporters. He was telling them, listen, each of you need to make more noise. You need to bring 5 people each, so we have a big mass out here. But there is an argument to be made that at the end of the day, this is what a lot of journalists and reporters do. They're so in the mix of things. They're in the heat of the things. They know kind of what's going on in the undercurrents, that it's relatively normal, at least in some camps, for some journalists to just give advice, strategize freely while reporting on a story. Like you said, he was outside Dar Centrali waiting for the result of the vote. He had some time to waste. He was clearly discussing the issues with the supporters. But yeah, TV host Pep Yazzopardi has defended Brian Hansford, saying that he shouldn't be condemned, he shouldn't lose his role over this.
He's come out saying he wasn't actually giving advice, right?
Yes, that's exactly it. He actually.
I mean, when you look at it, obviously there is that sense of influence in it. Maybe it was the heat of the moment. Like you said, it's hard as a journalist perhaps to separate yourself from what's going on, especially when it's you're so involved in it and you've been following it from the very beginning. But I mean, you can't deny the fact that obviously, you're supposed to be keeping a sense of neutrality, and it does come off somewhat unprofessional.
Talking about unprofessional, moving on to the next story. Another development in the ongoing case into the assassination of Maltese journalist Daphne Caruana Galizia, and quite a crazy little turn of events yesterday. So in court, Yorgen Fenech's defense lawyer, Gianluca Caruana Curran, implied that there might be a recording, previously unheard recording, of state witness Melvin Thelma apparently somehow, allegedly, I'm going to put a big allegedly on this, making a deal with former police commissioner Lawrence Cotayar to get his presidential pardon. Apparently this recording shows a mutual contact, a man called Edwin Brincat El Joya, allegedly speaking to Lawrence Kutayar and offering 30,000 euros to ensure that Melvin Thelma gets a presidential pardon in this case. Massive allegation, and what happened next is the defense lawyers asked for this recording to be played in court, and when court tried to play the recording, it was missing. It wasn't on the hard drive. They're going to be looking into this, and in fact, on the 22nd of July, a court expert will be brought in to testify over the missing court recording. However, I mean, if this recording is true, it could really change things in this whole testimony. Let's not forget that Melvin Thelma's presidential pardon is reliant on the fact that he is not found to be lying at any point.
Exactly. I mean, it really holds massive implications, this recording. And you know, the fact that it apparently went was deleted or gone missing, we don't know. We weren't obviously in court. Is huge. You know, not to mention the fact that obviously that there's the fact that Melvin Thelma might have bribed former head police commissioner at the time, Lawrence Kutayar, is also big in itself. But now it's come out that the recordings have been deleted or gone missing. It really, what sets to follow could change the whole case and turn it on its head. Like,
that's exactly it. I think for me, there's two really important things to keep in mind here. One, this is not the first time something's gone missing. Just last week, we were reporting that a very important memorandum of understanding in the Vitals deal had gone missing. They found it, but after much discussion and a lot of fanfare, and the Prime Minister himself having to step in and give a deadline. Secondly, what's important to remember here is that prosecutors were saying, listen, how do Yorgen Fenech's defense lawyers have a recording that's so sensitive, such a sensitive nature? How do you guys have this recording when apparently the courts don't even have the recording?
They were taken by surprise.
Very, very big questions there, how Yorgen Fenech might have such a sensitive recording. So we'll definitely have to tune in on the 22nd of July, see how this develops. But I can't wait to see where this goes.
Absolutely. And moving on to another sensitive topic, actually, a Maltese lecturer was left distraught after trying to navigate a pavement with her wheelchair user daughter. Mary Muscat, who's also a former police commissioner candidate, spoke up on Facebook about the challenges her daughter Justine faces being a wheelchair user in Malta and just navigating the streets. She uploaded photos on Facebook of a pavement where her daughter was trying to navigate, which was covered in garbage bins. There was a pole in the way. And I think the worst of it all was the fact that there was a car parked on the pavement, which unfortunately is a common sight in Malta. Now, it could be an issue of parking or lack of parking on the island, but it's inexcusable. Parking on a pavement, especially when we have, you know, as a pedestrian, you may be able to make do and go around. It's still unacceptable, but especially when it comes to a wheelchair user who is really left with no choice and left there. I mean, the photos she uploaded were heartbreaking. Her daughter there and looking distraught. And for her, obviously, it's definitely not a nice experience. In fact, she spoke to you, right, John? And she opened up about it. That's
exactly it. We spoke to Mary Muscat herself after we saw this shocking photo, and you know, she said herself, quote, this is disempowering her daughter. Now, her daughter's in a wheelchair, but she still wants a life. She still wants to have the best life to give to her daughter. And the fact that when she tries to go for a walk around her hometown of Zaytoun, she can barely go a block before having to go back on the road, push the wheelchair on the road, go around this massive truck. She said to me, you know, while this is happening, cars are honking. There's, you know, dogs running around, which might be a bit problematic for certain people. And, you know, the story was very relatable to a lot of people around the island. I think a lot of people understood where she was coming from, understood how unacceptable it was. I mean, we all have someone who's been in a wheelchair or is in a wheelchair, and the idea that you go for a walk with them, just a daily walk, you want to have a little chat outside in the sunshine, and within a block you have to stop, go back home, get on the road. You know, it is extremely distressing. So she also said that she had made reports to police about this, and you know, sometimes they address it, sometimes they don't. Illegal parking is a problem in Malta. She admitted, listen, where I live there's not that much parking. So it definitely goes back to the parking thing, but listen, is the solution to park on the pavement? And I mean, if you see the photo, he was in. He was in all the way to the wall.
It really is shocking. And it's not the first time we've seen, you know, pavement's being encroached on. I mean, a few weeks ago we had that issue with that advertisement board.
Exactly.
An advertisement board covering half pavement. I mean,
in Pieta.
Exactly. So it's not just Zaytoun in Pieta, it's Pieta. I've also seen myself cars parked on pavements, and it's crazy, to be honest with you.
We need to look into this, especially in very, very residential areas.
Exactly.
Moving on to another problematic story. Maltese business owners have spoken out after €50 notes that were counterfeit were used in their establishment. So yesterday, Lovin Malta spoke to 2 business owners who had encountered some counterfeit bills. Just this last week, very, very recently, I myself actually got to hold the counterfeit bill, and it was very strange, very paper-like. It's got a different texture. Like, as soon as I felt it, I thought I could tell it's a counterfeit. Obviously, I had the knowledge knowing it was a counterfeit bill. This bill was used in a club in Portugal. Obviously, busy club, dim lights, loud music, drinks flying, people calling across the bar for their orders to be taken. So I can totally get how a bartender might have mistakenly accepted the bill. However, it seems like the €50 will probably come out of the bartender's pay. So this is something that's going to affect the bartender, him or herself. So this is really problematic. So 2 business owners spoke about this, and just this morning, another person got in contact with us to show us a €10 counterfeit bill. What's important to remember is that these bills had the word prop copy written in the top corner, and the coloring was a bit different too. It was much brighter. So in the light of day, you could definitely notice it, but in the dim lights of a club or in the speed of a club, I can really see how this could get away.
Yeah, no, definitely problematic. And the fact that you mentioned that it's not just a €50 note, it's now a €10 note. And it's been an issue before, I believe, right, in the past in Malta, but now it's starting to appear to be an issue again, and affecting businesses and its employees. Because employees are the ones that pay for it at the end of the day, which is really harsh.
So if you're a bartender, guys, take the extra second, do that scanning thingy, the UV light or whatever it is, or get the pen, double check it, because it's going to come out of your paycheck. Your boss will not be happy, and it's not going to be a good night for everyone involved.
Yes, and Maltese business owners aren't the only ones being affected at the moment. Apparently most hoteliers believe that Malta will have achieved tourism normality by 2023. Now, obviously, this is in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has had a massive downturn on our tourism industry, at least for this year. I spoke to a lot of restaurants, a lot of hotels during the pandemic, and they said, forget this year's done. Forget about it, this year is finished. Now, Deloitte had done a survey, not just with Maltese hoteliers, but on a global scale. And it's come out that 28% believe that by the second half of 2023, we would have achieved normality in a sense, while 6% believe that it will be achieved by the end of 2021 and 17% by 2024. Now, that's 4 years away. So you think about it, the COVID-19 pandemic, while in Malta it might almost be over, we're down to 4 active cases, the economic consequences of it are still yet to come.
I'm not going to lie, when I saw the headline, I saw 2023, I was like, Jesus, this is really going to last a while, isn't it? As you said, we're feeling like we're in the tail end of the pandemic, even though some other countries aren't doing so well right now and have had a resurgence. But 2023, as you said, Maltese hoteliers as well as international hoteliers were part of the survey. So this was both a global look as well as a local look. But Jesus Christ, and not just 2023, the second half of 2023. Yeah. Imagine that, like Malta's hotel industry was a massive part of the economy. I mean, when you go to any of the best and prettiest sites in Malta, there's bound to be a hotel or 2 or 3. More hotels are being built by the second. So the idea that all this investment is going to a part of the industry that is going to be suffering for the next 3 years, that's really shocking.
For a country that relies on tourism, and obviously when you take into fact hotels, you take into restaurants and everything that relies on hotels, and it really could have huge ramifications. In fact, I spoke to a nail salon yesterday to see how they're doing in the post-COVID-19 world, and they too said that they fear the worst as yet to come. So tough times ahead.
That's right. But listen, if you've got the vouchers this week, which supposedly, have you got the vouchers yet?
Not yet.
I haven't got them yet either. But if you do, maybe go to a hotel, help out the industry a bit, help out some Maltese business owners and their employees as well.
That's what they're there for.
I think that brings us to the end of today's episode. From myself and JP, have a day full of lovin'.